Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a beautiful brand new day. Welcome to Wednesday and welcome to Exploring Sacred. This morning we're talking about angelic beings, even though it's the season of goblins and ghouls and all that good kind of a thing. Today I thought, well, let's talk about angelic beings of light and the way in which they sometimes appear to us. Sometimes they appear to us in pretty astonishing ways, actually. So this morning, as we begin our journey, our conversation with the beings of light, angelic beings. Hey, Holly Hagen. I thought we could take a moment just to take a deep breath. So much going on in the world right now. And just to take a deep breath and maybe invite the angels of light, the angels of joy, the angels of abundance, the angels of good health and wellness, the angels of laughter, the angels of fill in the blank, to join us this morning, to join you wherever you happen to be. Just to take a breath, to be consciously aware and awake that angels, beings of light, messengers from creation, are with us at all times, in every moment. It's so easy to forget that. And easier yet to forget that sometimes angels walk among us. They fly among us. They're present among us. Even when we're not consciously awake and aware to that fact. Angels are very real. Angels are allies. They're intelligent, potent beings of light that, in my mind, hold office, that have purpose, in other words. Being consciously awake and aware of them enhances life, I believe. Makes life more interesting, adventurous at times, but also more peaceful, more contented. Hey, Carla Jo. Good morning, Angie. Good to have you in the chat room. For those of you that are listening, wherever you happen to be listening from, the chat room is open. And if you give me a follow there at Temple Within Radio and Media on Spreaker, hey, Sonia, then you will get automatic notifications when the shows here start. Carl and Ortrun Franklin will be hosting a monthly show the last Wednesday of every month at 11 a.m. called Earth's Ascension. I love that, Earth's Ascension. That will be with Carl and Ortrun Franklin, the final Wednesday of every month beginning next month from 11 until 11:30 a.m., sharing what it is that they would like to share with you from our spiritual ascension. That is their company. It is a time of ascension, of higher wisdom, of looking from a higher perspective, perceiving from a higher perspective. Angels help us do that, and albeit there are angels who anchor their light in the darkest of places and those that anchor their light in the lightest of places. Wherever there's light to be found, most often we will find an angelic holding light, holding space for us. Good morning, Marianne. It's good to see you in the chat room. It's a great group this morning. Angels are something that I'm very fond of talking about, as everybody who knows me knows that. And whether I'm talking about them in the typical sense or the Christian sense of the word angelic, or at least Catholic sense, or if I'm talking about them as spiritual beings of light in the sense of the work that I do in pouring NEPs and sweat lodges and holding ceremony, these incredible beings of light are not accessible to an exclusive few. The fact is that these beings of light, we call them angels or messengers, are accessible to everyone. First and foremost, it makes it a lot easier if you understand that they actually do exist. Where do they come from? What are they? From my understanding, from my experience in this life, they are beings of pure energy. Sometimes they will inhabit a physical body, and that physical body may come in the form of one of our beloved pets. It may be a spontaneous physical body that they inhabit that may look human. It may look animal-like. These beings of light, messengers of creation, have the ability to shape-shift, to occupy many forms. And sometimes we do entertain angels unaware. Sometimes it's a chance encounter with somebody or something or an animal that we just can't explain. Sometimes it's a feeling that we have. Sometimes angels will present themselves as thoughts, as impressions. They speak their own language. Sometimes they speak in a language that we can understand, in whatever verbal language we in our humanness speak. They're able to speak in those terms or to communicate in those terms as well. But angels have a language all of their own that they're able to extrapolate into an understandable language. The language of the angels is oftentimes musical, vibrational. For those of you that have my book, A Book of Enchantments with the Mystic Angels of Light, you know that David Fix and I have included the language of the angelic sigils. That's a potent language in and of its own, and David and I are so excited. Next month, the hardcover gift edition of the book is coming out. It is spectacular. David's work will be in full color in the hardcover gift edition. We're so excited about that. Lots of information about the angelics and how to work with them, because you see, angels respond to our thoughts. They respond to our words. They respond to our intentions. They are connected to us. And many of the old ones, the ancient ones, actually say that everything outside of us is also contained within us. And if we're related to one another on the physical plane, many of the ancients posit that we're also related to every living thing in the non-physical plane. When we speak to the angelics outside of us, many say that we are actually speaking to those angelic essences and beings that reside within us, or the corresponding energies within us. Sometimes it reminds me of the little cartoon of the angel on one shoulder and the demon on the other shoulder. Which of the angels, which of the demons are we speaking to at any given time? Well, we all have a choice. Long, long time ago, one of my teachers taught me that the only hands really that the angels have on earth are our hands, these beings of light, these emanations. I like the word emanation because sometimes they just emanate a light into our lives. Sometimes we know that we've been touched by an angel because we can feel it. We just know it. A sense of peace, a sense of well-being. A dear friend of mine had surgery yesterday, and after surgery, she emailed me to let me know that she could feel the presence of angels in the surgical suite. And she could feel the presence of angels in recovery. How do we feel them? Oftentimes it's a sense of contentment or a sense that all is well, that everything is in divine timing, even if our human brain doesn't understand divine timing or our human temperament wants our own timing. as we feel that it should be done. Angels are purveyors of divine timing. As Julian of Norwich, St. Julian of Norwich tells us, all is well and all manner of things are well. And sometimes if we get out of our human mind and we get into our spiritual mind, those pieces within us that are connected to the angelics, to our soul, our higher self, to the creator of the universes, the multiverse, we can see from a different perspective and understand from a different perspective. Hey, Laura Smith and Lily and Delmarie and Marianne. It's great to have you all in the chat room this morning, talking about angelic beings. Have any of you ever encountered an angel in the flesh? Have you ever experienced an angel that for a moment inhabited a physical body of any sort? What about those times when we're alone or we're in need of some celestial connection and we hear music begin to play? Have you ever had that happen? I had a woman many years ago who had a spiritual awakening in her life when she was sitting in church. And she was just in the church and she was praying and having a moment between her and Creator. And the way that she described it to me, she said, you know, Denise, the entire church filled with the music of a symphony and a choir. And there was no choir, there was no symphony. There was me, maybe a couple of other people in the church at that moment. But the entirety of the church was filled with symphonic music and a choir with voices like I've never heard before. And she said, I just sat there. Initially, she said she was sitting there in a moment of disbelief. And then her higher sense said to her, believe it. Because whether you believe it or not, you are having this moment of grace. It's happening. Well, as she went on to tell the story, she sat there and the tears streamed down her cheeks and she wasn't able to control them. And she rested into that moment of grace in that church, filled with a celestial symphony and an accompanying choir. Sometimes we can have those experiences that are so large and so moving. And other times I think that we can have angelic experiences that are subtle. The moments of divine inspiration. The moments of a shift in attitude. Hey, Tara. Whether we believe it or not, we are always in the company of angels. Whether they're singing to us, or whether they're completely and utterly silent. Sometimes I think to myself that perhaps everything in the universe is angelic, including us, when we acknowledge that part of our nature, we can step more fully into it. But I do believe that angels of love, of light, they're very individual, very unique emanations, just as we all are. They have a job, they have a vibration, they have a tonal frequency. If we learn to work with them, it's amazing what we can accomplish on the earth plane. They work through us. Last week, in the mystery school, Peter Wheely shared a wonderful teaching from the Coptic master Hamid Bey. Hamid Bey taught that God doesn't work for us, God works through us. I like that. Sometimes I think that we get more done when we invite the angels and Creator to work through us, as well as alongside us, in tandem with us. I think that's a good way to go. But I like that. Sometimes we implore, we demand, don't we? We can demand. What about working with? What about working with, walking with, understanding those beings of light, those messengers from creation? Learning about them, working with spirit, rather than demanding of spirit. If I had angels, then this wouldn't have happened. How about having a relationship with the angels? How about sitting maybe for 60 seconds a day? Mikael, Uriel, Gavriel, Raphael, Metatron, or if you go through the entire litany of the mystic angels, inviting them into your space to walk alongside you. Angels of light, angels of joy, angels of abundance, thank you. Being angels in fur, in feathers, I think is sometimes a really great definition of our pets. You know, I look at Gabriel, my little Gabriel, he's just getting old. Oh, goodness. And he decided he wanted to be named Gabriel. Dominic Antonio, my cat. Dominic Antonio Francesco. I'm pretty sure that those are little messengers from creation that live right here in my home. And actually, when I look out into the enchanted forest here and I see any of the deer or the raccoons or squirrels, I think to myself, I think that those are angels too. They're messengers from nature. And what is nature? I think that maybe in our humanness, we've kind of narrowed the definition of what an angel is or what an angel is supposed to be. Sometimes I think those beings of light occupy feather and fur and scales and horsehair. Tara is sharing today's message from the universe. Oh, we're busy, all right. We're absolutely slammed everywhere, always. Aligning planets, churning waterfalls, guiding sparrows, and raising more suns for more planets and more galaxies than a rocket scientist could ever count. Yet still, Tara, never a moment goes by when there aren't angels here working their little hearts out for you. Of this, you can be sure. Gabriel. Signed, Gabriel. That's right. That's a good one, Tara. Thanks for sharing it. They are busy. Angels aren't just sedentary and floating around on a cloud, everybody. They're busy. They're energetic. They have a consciousness. We can align with them or not. We can invite them to walk with us or not. We can invite them to inspire us or not. If you look at the artwork of the mystic angels, you see how the angels themselves inspired the artist David Fix to create them, to portray them in his art. Those that invite the presence of the angelics to inspire their music, their poetry, their high ceremonies, their decisions. Del Marie is sharing. I experienced a sound of distant drums a couple of times while driving alone. Or maybe I'm going crazy, she's saying. I'm glad that you brought that up, Jue, because so many people limit angels to one segment of religion or society. Angels are not relegated to religion or groups of people. These angelic beings are far more than that. And we give them, in our imagination, in our desire to understand them, we give them wings, we give them halos, we give them human-like faces in order to understand them from a human perspective. If we learn about them from a soul perspective, from our higher self perspective, we come to understand that angels surpass all human understanding or human qualifications. So sometimes we can hear drums. I once had a woman say to me, well, why would angels walk with me? I'm not a Christian woman. She was the follower of another one of the isms. There are so many isms in the world, right? Paganism, Hinduism, Buddhism. So many isms. So many human definitions of. To which I said, well, you're awfully limiting, aren't you? The way that these beings of light, these emanations from the heart and mind of Creator, how they have their way in the world. You're limiting them. Oh, so they're not just for a certain group of believers? No. Angelic beings exist, whether we believe it or not. They exist. They do come when we call to them. Whether we're in sacred ceremony or not, and they go by many names. There are angelic beings that hold the 8 sacred directions on the wheel, the 4 cardinal points, and all of those wonderful places of in-between, the hinges, beings of light that occupy those spaces. Beings of light that we call upon whenever we call upon our good nature, when we call upon the angelics of light within us. I think angels give us hope for all things that we experience. I would agree with that, Laura. Angels can be angels of hope, angels of joy, angels of understanding, angels of compassion. If we think of angelic beings as thought forms from the heart and mind of God, what thought forms do we call to us from the heart and mind of the God and the Goddess, of the divine male and the divine female, if we want to define Creator? What thoughts? Thoughts of hope, thoughts of joy, thoughts of abundance, thoughts of light, thoughts of healing. I call upon the angels of healing to be present with my friend as she walks through this journey. I call upon the angels of joy for my friend who's walking through a sorrowful time. I call upon the angels of upliftment, of balance. I call upon the angels of music. Even when we say those words, or I should say, even when I say those words, if I'm just sitting here with myself, or if I'm holding ceremony, if I'm lighting the candle on my altar, which I do every day, and every day I invite the presence of the angels of fill in the blank. Even as I speak it out loud, I feel something inside of me. I can feel like anticipation, because I know that when I call, it may not be fireworks and celestial music, the music of the spheres, But I know in the deepest part of my knowing that they arrive, that their consciousness becomes present, not only for myself, but whoever I invite them to be present for. Every day, anyone who knows me, anyone who's been to my home, you know that I have a few candles around the place, and I have candles with special intention. And my healing candle, Holy Mother, Divine Father, Earthly Mother, Heavenly Father, God, Goddess, consciousness of creation. You know the prayers upon my heart and the prayers that I now lift to you, that I give to you. Angels of healing, angels of love, angels of joy and compassion, I lift these same prayers. I give them to you for your love, for your peace. Angels of peacefulness. I bring them into my home every day. I invite them. They're here, but I re-invite them. I'm one of those people that likes ceremony. We don't have to say it right out loud. We can just be thinking about the angelics. And just in thinking about them, sometimes our imagination is inspired. Isn't it? The old third eye wakes right up. At least for me. And sometimes when we invite them, they leave us signs. They give us signs and wonders. I love signs and I love wonders. Even though I see spirit, and I've seen spirit since forever, I see the angels. But for me, one of the funnest parts about being human, having this human experience, are the ways in which spirit gives us physical signs. I love that. Walking along and maybe I find a beautiful feather. Oh, I always say thank you. Always give gratitude. Or if I'm looking up in the night sky and I see a star move, I say thank you. Or just a feeling of peace that overcomes me, I say thank you. There are so many blessings that we receive. And sometimes they are inspired, mainly by the angels. As Tara's message said this morning, they are consciously aware and awake, waiting to work in tandem with us so that we don't discombobulate, right? Oh, we love to run interference sometimes for grace. In our human way of thinking, we can discombobulate grace because our humanness gets in the way when we don't allow our own soul to be present. It's a good thing every morning, but even before we get out of bed, to acknowledge, number one, that we are spiritual beings having this trip called a human life, because it is trippy, this human life. To acknowledge that that's going on and to invite, re-invite, say good morning to, let's get ready for this day together, to our ancestors, to our angelic allies, and to invite those angelic presences that maybe we know that we're going to need for a given day. Already this morning, looking at, right after the show, my day begins with clients, as most days begin. And knowing the clients that I have on the docket for today, I already begin to invite the angelic presences that I know that I will need throughout the course of the day. And one of the beautiful souls that will be coming to see me today, I do most of my work these days via Zoom, like many people. But one of the clients coming today is a mom whose child has crossed over. And those are special clients that I work with, the parents whose children have already walked on. And as I'm setting the day's intentions, I invite the angels of grief, of peacefulness, to be present. The angels of hope, the angels of light, to be present. I invite those angels that were present at the moment that her child passed on, I invite those angels to be present for the time that I will spend with this mother. I invite them to be here so that she can feel it, she can sense it. I'm very intentional with my days. I have a lot of adventure, and sometimes people think that I'm just winging it in my life, because I do have a lot of adventures. And some of them, quite frankly, are like right on the razor's edge. I think that's kind of my Scorpio nature, and being raised by the Sarge, is that he taught me to, sometimes just walk right there on that edge. And some of you have been present with me, there on the edge. Because I think I have this greater faith that whatever is going to happen, that divine grace is always present with me. Always. And by whatever definition we call that grace. The spirits, the angels, the Holy Mother, the saints, the Tunkashalas. What is that spirit that we call by so many names? The angels are with us before we incarnate. The angels are with us when we get here. The angels walk with us through this human lifetime, and they are there, these beings of light, these emanations of light, of life, at the end of our days. And when we walk on back home, when we have our moment of jubilation, and we leave the physical body, we go home, they're there. Wherever there's creation, the angels are. Holly Hagen is adding, I asked the turkey in our backyard if they would leave me a feather. The next day, guess what I found? I gave extra corn in thanks to them. I love that. That's awesome. I love that on Wednesday mornings we can talk about this stuff, don't you? Nikki is saying, the net always appears. Might as well make it an adventure. You've been on a few adventures with me, huh, Nikki? Oh, Lordy. Oh, goodness. Todd and I are leaving early in the morning for northern Michigan camping. Like some people say, like, who camps at the end of October? Well, Todd and I do, of course. And Nikki gifted me with this really great mug of witch's brew, which, of course, will be in the camper, and you can expect a few photos via text message, Nikki. I mean, I've already got this thing packed and ready to go camping from the Heartful Art Studio. So, having a joyful adventure, and sometimes it takes us to the edge. And I don't mean to be like cavalier about life and death, but, what's the worst thing that can happen? I've come so close already that I know that that's not the worst thing that can happen, walking on. The worst thing that can happen is you don't live while you're here. That's the worst thing that can happen, in my mind anyway. It isn't death. It's not living while we're here, and not fully living. And for me, fully living means that the presence of spirit is essential to my conscious awareness, because it's there. But to be consciously awake and aware to the fact that I'm having this experience, but that I've also got unseen allies. Well, I see them. They're not unseen to me. To understand that, I think, really makes life pretty amazing. And it's okay to ask for signs and wonders. And here's, some people will say, well, how can I, call on the Archangel Saint Michael when bazillions of people also call on the Archangel Saint Michael? There are ancient teachings that say that the Archangel Saint Michael is actually the blue of the sky itself. The blue of the sky itself, to the ancient ones, is the Archangel Saint Michael. Isn't that astonishing to think of it that way? Well, I think it is anyway. Hey, Marianne. Absolutely. You may quote me on that. Go ahead and quote me on that, my friend. Sonia is saying, I've been having lots of thunderbirds hanging out in the trees by my house. Not sure what to make of it, but just in awe of how graceful they are despite their size. Yeah, oh, I'm with you, Sonia. I love seeing a thunderbird. And especially when I can get a close-up of those magnificent red faces. Oh my goodness, that's a good day when I get to see that. That's a good day. They are majestic. And I think, how blessed am I that somewhere along the line I was taught that everything is an emanation from the Creator, the creative force, the consciousness of the seas and galaxies of consciousness. Everything. If we pay attention, if we understand this, life gets really magical, everybody. And yeah, you're right about that, Carla Jo. So many just exist. They don't live. Oh my goodness. I'm going to live until I'm not. Angels are magical. They can be all things to all people. Yes, we have so many ways of encountering angelics, the messengers. I've had occasion where I know that some of the animals in my life, let alone the ones that live here in the house with me and up at the stables, I look at all of them and I know that they are here as teachers, as representatives. Just when I said that, that part in The Wizard of Oz where the representative from the Lollipop Guild, we represent the Lollipop Guild, that part of The Wizard of Oz. That's how my imagination goes. I think that living things are representatives from the Lollipop Guild, aka the heart and mind of creation, if we look at them that way. I look at people that way. Sometimes it's a stretch for me with some people. Which nature do we delve into in our own being? Which nature, which side of nature do our thoughts occupy? Well, sometimes I will say, as a Scorpio, as a quadruple Scorpio, sometimes I dip into that not so bright side of things. But I've learned with age that it's better to stay on the lighter side of things. We all have a visit, don't we? In the darkened corridors of things. The dark night of the soul. Some people will ask me, okay, so you talk about angels being there all the time, but where did they go when I was walking through blah, blah, blah in my life? Well, sometimes they're quiet. Sometimes the angels of courage and determination don't appear to us in any way, but they manifest to us in our own strength, in our own courage, in our own determination. The inner angels get activated. We may not be seeing them or feeling them on the outside, but the inner angels, they get activated. Because sometimes the only way we get through a dark night as individuals or collectively is to be activated on the inside. What activates us? And which of the angels within us that get activated do we allow to have a presence, to have a voice? And we've all walked through those darkened corridors of the soul, the fires of life, when we feel that we've been out in the desert for 40 days alone and blistering. And how did we get through it? Our own determination. Sometimes we say, but for the grace of God. Well, what is that grace? Who is that grace? Where is that grace? Where does it reside? Within, without? Does it have to be in ceremony? No. Does it have to be at an altar? No. It can be at a bus stop. It's acknowledging. It's being awake and aware. And the great thing about any form of thought or of being is that when we are awake and aware to it, it becomes awake and aware of us. And pretty soon we have a relationship. Because when we become awake and aware of all of that within us, all of that outside of us wakes up, and it wakes up to us. We create a grid, a weave, I think Amantha Murphy would say. She's got a great book coming out, by the way, in January, The Way of the Shavan. Highly recommend it. For those of you that are on Facebook, on the Temple Within School of Sacred Studies group page, I placed a link where you can pre-order a copy of the book. I've read it. She asked me to endorse it, and so I read it. There are angels of the earth and angels of the heavens. One time, Amantha, she and I were just sitting around after dinner, and she looked at me and she said, "You know, Dana, our friendship is so interesting because you spend a lot of time with spirit, and I spend a lot of time with earth. You walk in the ether of spirit so much, and I walk with earth. Are there angels of earth? Are there only angels of spirit? There are both." And she and I had a great conversation about that. The angel of earth. Some people believe that Grandmother Earth herself, our earthly mother, is an angel. The ancient Essenes believed that. That Grandmother Earth, Unchi, Mother Earth, Gaia, is an angel. She's a messenger. She's alive with the message of creation. I like that. So Amantha and I had this great conversation about the fact that I do walk in spirit, more in the realms of the ethers. She walks and has her way mostly in the realm of the soil of Grandmother Earth, which makes for great conversation, wonderful complement to one another. It isn't either or. It isn't either or. Del Marie is saying, "I believe we are angels to others. We come in the time of need. We rescue and take care of animals. We come as support to others." I agree with that too. Holly is saying, "Me too, Del Marie. I agree with that." Sometimes we are inspired to assist, to be a messenger of goodness, of comfort to those in need. I agree with that. And where does that inspiration come from? Where do those thoughts come from? The old ones, many of the old ones teach us that our thoughts, our human thoughts, are angelics. That those are the cherubim, the cherubs of the mind. I like that. That's a very ancient teaching. That the cherubs that we talk about that are floating around on clouds are actually our thought bubbles. And we give birth to angels of the mind every moment of our lives. And what are we giving birth to? Are we giving birth to unruly cherubs? Are we giving birth to compassionate cherubs, joyful cherubs? Every moment of our thinking, conscious, awaking, awareness, call it what you will, every thought that we give off, every word that we speak is angelic. The ancient Hebrews teach us that every letter of the alphabet is an angel because it is consciously alive, it is awake, it is aware. Think about that as you speak, as you post on social media, as you think. Every thought, every word is an emanation, an angelic emanation brought through us. So says the Hebrew mystics. And what sorts of angels are we giving birth to in the matrix of life? That's kind of a deep thought, isn't it? If at every moment we ourselves are contributing to the matrix of angelics, and people talk about spiritual warfare, if we think about the angels that we're giving birth to at any given time, how are we contributing to spiritual warfare? Interesting thought. But then angels are thoughts that come from the heart and mind of all creation. The heart and the mind. The heart and the mind, that is what creates. The heart bridged with the mind, not the brain. Although if you can bridge your brain with your heart, that's where the creative mind really becomes effective. Just a thought. Sometimes people will say to me, "You're so quiet." I know that when you're quiet, you're cooking something up in your brain. Well, sometimes I'm quiet because maybe what I've cooked up in my brain, I need to wrestle and wrangle with for a minute before I release it out into the, matrix or the weave of life in my Scorpio nature. So I've become more consciously aware that what I think, and out of those thoughts, what I write or say is potent, is powerful, is angelic. It is a live being. I become far more thoughtful. I become far more quiet. And sometimes I'm just quiet because I just sit with. And I think I've always been that way. I remember my dad, the Sarge, telling me that I didn't speak until I was, way beyond when most little people speak. I just didn't speak. He said, you just sat and you were silent. I think I was probably having great conversations, just probably not out loud. But he found that interesting, that I just didn't speak. Sometimes now that I'm older, I know that it's better not to speak. Sometimes it's better just to be quiet so that my better angel within me can be centered and balanced despite what might be going on around me. It's a beautiful day. You know that there are angels associated with every day of the week? I was born on a Friday. So many would say that I was born under the auspices of the angel of Friday. Anael is one of the angels of Friday. Anael is the angel of the cosmos, cosmic thinking of the horoscope and astrology. Every sign in the horoscope has an angelic that overlights it. As a Scorpio, for me, it's the Archangel Saint Michael and also the Archangel Azrael. Every moment in time, every second, every minute, every hour of the day is overlighted by an angelic being. What about those angelic beings that happen when we play music? I once said to a friend of mine who plays the violin, every time your bow, your violin bow, you rosin up that bow, and you strike a chord on the violin, a string, an angel is born. Every sound, every note that comes from the piano, from the drum, from the rattle, from the violin, from the flute, from the trumpet, from the saxophone, from the crystal healing bowl. Every note is angelic. Sometimes when I'm sitting here in my own house and I'm practicing with my harmonica, I have a harmonica and I also have an Irish pan flute. Thank you, Pat Fox and Sue Madewell. I have a beautiful violin. Thank you, Lily. I have my djembe drum, my African drum, and I have my other drum from Sonia Holy Eagle. Sometimes when I'm just here by myself entertaining myself with my music, because I do practice, I know that in making music, I'm actually being creative. Sometimes I will just play the drum and watch the beings of music that are created. Have you ever done that? Played your drum and paid attention to the vibration and the being, the conscious being created in that vibration? It's pretty astonishing. Pretty astonishing. Holly is saying, I was a Friday baby as well. Yeah, the angel of Friday, angel of Saturday, the angel of Sunday. Boy, and when we learn even how we get to have those days of the week and the mythology, oh, just when we think we're learning something, there's so much more to learn, isn't there? Boy, that's for sure. Talking to the angels of the land. I do that. The angels of the trees, the spirit of the trees. Whenever there's a storm getting ready to kick up, to brew up around here. Yep. I talk to the angels of the land, of the enchanted forest, the spirits of the trees, the spirits of the wind. The Canticle of St. Francis of Assisi. I love the Canticle. It talks about Brother Wind and Mother Moon and oh my. If you haven't ever read the Canticle of St. Francis, it's beautiful, but he talks about the spirit of everything, the consciousness of everything. The more we become consciously aware of the spirit of everything, the more that the spirit of everything becomes consciously aware of us. I see you. Isn't that what they say on Avatar? I see you. When we can say that to the angelics, when we can say that to nature, to one another, I see you, whatever we're seeing begins to see us with more depth of understanding of our past, of our present, perhaps our future. fascinating. So I think as we wrap up the show today, I'm going to draw a card from the Mystic Angels. Actually, the Enchanted Angels. Angels of Enchantment, I should say. And I'm going to pull a card for all of us. Shuffle, shuffle. Okay. All right, to the top of the pile is the Archangel Eratron, the Divine Magician, the first angel. I'm just going to read this to everyone. Eratron asks the question, where is your magic? Call it forth. In many ancient texts and teachings, Eratron is the name of the very first angel, the original divine messenger, created to bridge the seen and the unseen worlds. A mighty archangel, Eratron governs the practices of natural magic, chemistry, hermeticism, herbology, alchemy, astronomy, and astrology. Wise practitioners of the ancient ways and the old religions have always known that their ancestors and ancestral DNA play a pivotal role in their proclivity and proficiency in the esoteric arts. Perhaps it is time to learn more about your ancestors, their gifts, their talents, languages, songs, cultural and spiritual wisdom. Invite the Archangel Eratron to lovingly assist you in your practice, to guide and protect, and to keep you balanced upon your path. This is the angel of magic, in other words, of alchemy between spirit and physicality, the bridge between heaven and earth. You can read more about Eratron, of course, in my book, A Book of Enchantments. And for those of you that have asked if I might republish the set of 13 altar cards, that has been done. And they will be here from the publishing house at the end of the month. If you'd like to order a set of the 13 altar cards, you can go to the schoolofsacredstudies.com, just schoolofsacredstudies.com, and look on the books page. There in the upper tab bar, way over to the right. And you can order a set of these cards. They're beautiful, informative. With that, everybody, have a magnificent day. Have a beautiful day. Get out there and shine your light as only you can shine your light, allowing the angelics, the beings of light, your good nature, your connection to the goodness and the nature of all things to shine through you. Thank you, Tara. We're going to have a great time camping. Blessings be. Thank you, everyone.